Hey there, my name is Przemek, and today I have two reviews for you. Two dark ambient projects, and both of them approaching dark ambient matter in a completely different way. So if you would like to show someone that it's not that all dark ambient producers approach this music always in the same way, that it is not always and always some boring drones and hums and whatever, that this music can really be diverse. You can show them these two albums and play them, obviously. uh, Violent Grief, Eulogy for the Living, and Aperus or Aperus. I don't know how to which pronunciation is correct. I'll stick with Aperus, Lost Tribe of the Shadow. But let's begin with Violent Grief. It's a project I didn't know before, I admit, honestly. It's a one-man project from Nottingham in England, led by Steve Ritz. I wonder if he's of Polish origin, maybe because Ritz is a Polish name for a mushroom called saffron milk cup. Very tasty, by the way. But in any case, this is probably his first release on CD. A few others can be found on Violent Grief's Bandcamp. That's how the physical edition looks like. It's a modest but nice digipack. This album is a joint release of Cryonic Mind and Devastation Legacy, and also there's a certain statement here. Let me read it. The world as we know it is dying. There will come a time where the planet is no longer suitable for human existence. When this happens, there will be no one else to blame, as the human race is intent on destroying the very ecosystem it relies on to survive. Yeah, and Thomas Garrison is responsible for mastering. You probably know Thomas from his Control Power Electronics project. And to be honest, not knowing much about Violent Grief music, I expected more atmospheric stuff, maybe with some sacral element referring to the old dark ambient from cold meat industry. You know, the cover gave me this kind of feelings, but eventually it is something different, something that the name of the project corresponds well with. I mean, Violent Grief, because for me this album is like watching from the distance as the world falls apart, watching with sadness, which is obvious, but also with barely suppressed rage at humanity, its stupidity and vanity. And this album leaves no hope that things will get better anytime soon or anytime. That we will somehow come to our senses and stop this race of madness. It seems that, according to the musician, there must be some deep reset, and our planet must sink for some time into this feeling like on the cover. That is the extinction of all life, total desolation, and maybe, just maybe, after such a reset, nature will be able to bounce back and create something new from scratch, but this time without our presence as humans. And this is very gloomy, dark ambient. Basically, each track is underpinned by a post-industrial or sometimes even death industrial style. The drones are tuned low, heralding the arrival of a dark era. And on this oral background, various kind of noises appear, grinds and noises, sounding quite machine-like and synthetic, which I think is justified by the concept of the album. Steve definitely stands on the industrialized side of dark ambient. You can forget about atmospheric melodies or nice, ear-friendly harmonies. This is an industrial symphony of a dying world. You won't find anything new here. Let's be honest, it's all been there before on albums of other artists. A pinch of Last Mort here, a pinch of Terra Sancta there, and sometimes even The Vomit Arsonist, for example. But I have to admit that it is very competently produced, and it sounds good and somehow affects emotions. I know that there are a lot of fans of this dark ambient style, strongly veering towards death industrial and emanating with not very positive emotions. I generally have the impression that each subsequent track is like another step down to hell, something like that. And for such fans of this kind of dark ambient, I highly recommend Eulogy for the Living. But if you're looking for contemplation, meditation, or peace in dark ambient, you won't find it here. But it is still very good and evocative album. Violent Grief, Eulogy for the Living. And so as not to be too dark and negative, the second album I will discuss today is completely different in terms of atmosphere, although we're still dealing with broadly understood dark ambient. Lost Tribe of the Shadow is the last album of the Aperus project, led by Brian McWilliams. Some time ago, I reviewed an album of another Brian's project, Remanence. That album was called Sepia Drone, and you can find the review on the channel. But today we'll focus on Aperus and the album released by Geophonic Records, Lost Tribe of the Shadow. And to begin with, maybe I will show you how the physical edition looks like, because it is very nice. It's in the form of a kind of a poster on a handmade paper, I guess. I'm not an expert in the paper matter, but it doesn't change the fact that it looks good and it feels good under your fingers. Here we have also, among others, a conceptual introduction. It is quite enigmatic and cryptic, but in short, Lost Tribe of the Shadow is a kind of a fragment or tiny fragment of mankind that separated somehow from our timeline and is now functioning in a kind of parallel universe, sometimes leaving us in this our universe encoded hidden messages, roughly saying that here's the quote. I wrote down this quote: "They tell of a need to set things straight and align with the pulse of the sun and stars, to understand the inner shadow as a metaphor, not to project it out into the world for control or power." And cool, I like this kind of atmosphere, a big mystery, a bit of esotericism, but it is all presented in a modern, contemporary version, because we find those messages of the Lost Tribe hidden between graffiti tags or on walls, or as a hidden tracks in radio transmissions, this kind of stuff, and musically it is something between dark isolationist ambient, heavily saturated with field recordings, and tribal ambient in the style of Rapoon. By the way, Robin Story is responsible for the mastering of this album, and this release is a strangely unsettling feel, but presented in a completely different, not as straightforward way than previously discussed Violent Grief. It's like music illustrating the search for some secret in symbols hidden in plain sight. The drones are dark yet non-invasive. There are some fragments of radio transmissions, as in the second track, A Dark Age, and on the other hand, a bunch of nice melodies and tribal rhythms. And this whole thing has a very analog feeling, because the musicians used, among others, Somalira and Nordwave 2, Sequential Prophet 5, Moog Grandmother, Moog DFAM, shortwave radio, ocean drum, percussion, field recordings, sample manipulations, loops, effects, pedals, and also Brian is accompanied by some other musicians like Jason Goodyear, flute and field recordings on one track, Paul Casper, synths and theme on Last Stripe of the Shadow, Ivan Block, guitar on Graffiti Ghosts, Ebo and guitar on Lost Track 2, Carla K. McWilliams, flute noise loop on A Debt to Our Ancestors. But the thing I like the most here on this album may not be true, and I'm just filling the blanks or imagining the things that the thing that I like the most may be only somehow stuck in my head, and it's just my hallucination, because it's that specific atmosphere that only musicians from the southern states, those close to Mexican border, like Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, or California, can create, and the musicians like Steve Roach, Michael Stearns, or Nathan Youngblood, that is the feeling of the ambient that is kind of very sun and the desert, not the pristine desert, but the one with the electrical wires and masts and transformer station, or whatever it is called. Those deserts with the signs with the words "No trespassing, government property," or the sound of the desert wind, the nature intertwines with the noise of electricity. And this is something that, in my opinion, characterizes these musicians, and these musicians only. Maybe not all of their works, because for example, Michael Stern's works are often devoid of this electric feeling. They are very organic in their core, but some of them for sure. Although, like I said, maybe it's just my imagination, but Aperus has it. And there is also one from other geographical regions that can kind of arouse this specific feeling, and it's Soviet France. Soviet France is from Newcastle, from United Kingdom. And if I were to recommend this Aperus album to the fans of only one specific project, I would recommend it to fans of Soviet France. Again, Robin Story is the person who nicely combines all these speculations here. Experimental style, analog loops, tribal feel, and these sandy soundscapes. You almost feel the sand on your face, and this very hot wind also on your face, and this specific buzzing of electricity flowing in the air. New Mexico or Arizona desert, heat, sand, and strange sounds and strange lights in the sky. I really like this album. It is something special that I really appreciate in the ambient, even if it's something that only came to me in my imagination, in my head. One way or another. This is great stuff. Aperus, Lost Tribe of the Shadow. Okay, that would be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave the comment, click like if you like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. Thanks for watching and see you soon.